always talk about the world scene. Where are we at?
Oh, I think the world scene is a little bit as I predicted it was going to be on your program many months ago. Donald Trump obviously got where I expect him to be as president, but I think we're now seeing exactly what I was saying then, that the checks and balances in the US system in terms of the Senate and the House of Representatives, even though they're both Republican, and in point of fact 80 states in America are Republican, 80% of the states in America are Republican, they will not allow him to race off and do lunatic things, as we've seen. No funding for the wall to date, the Obama health care largely thrown out. He's not getting his ways and his promises. Having said that, the American people of his persuasion certainly still love him and revere him and treat him as a god. But I had to chuckle when the night he got elected. The BBC interviewed half a dozen people in both Virginia and in Illinois, and they asked him, do you think that, they asked everyone the same question, do you think that Donald Trump will be able to deliver on the promises? And to a person they said, hell no. They were all Republican voters. Hell no, no president in the last 50 years has ever delivered what he said he was going to do. So why should Donald? We didn't elect him to deliver on his promises. We elected him to give Capitol Hill a bloody nose, and we've done that. So that's where Brexit is interesting. Prime Minister going to the polls early was a bit of a surprise to me. I didn't think she would go, although I must admit I've got a lot of time for May. I think she's doing a very good job. But it's interesting to see that as the further we go from when the vote was initially held for Brexit, and the pound sort of dropped out of bed, the pound is firming constantly over the last 3 or 4 months, particularly since February. And I think I'd always been saying that the pound was grossly oversold, and it'll come back to us, and it surely is. But the pound has made people dealing in England, selling to England, exporters selling to England, it's been pretty tough for us for the last few months anyway, because prices that we're set for, particularly now for wine, all of a sudden you weren't getting the same amount of money in your New Zealand bank account. On the other side of the coin, since Donald Trump got elected, most exporters from New Zealand in US dollars will be saying, oh, hail Trump, you're doing a wonderful job, because the dollar US dollar is firmed dramatically against us, and we're down to what, low 0.68. Had got up a year or so ago to 0.8688. So we've come back a huge amount in the space of about 2 years, and particularly since Donald Trump got elected. So yeah, I think a lot of people in New Zealand should be thanking Trump, although to be quite honest, it's actually probably got bugger all to do with him anyway, but it just happens to be happening at the same time.
So exporters are actually starting to get happy. I mean, it'd be lovely to get down to the 50s again.
Oh, of course it would. But they are pretty confident that if it breaks through 0.685, then the next sort of major block is at 0.66. And so it's going down there. And some of the Treasury is still reasonably confident it'll get to 6.2 by the end of the year. But I've heard all those predictions before, and it's so much out of their control. It really is out there. It's what the economy in America is doing, and what the economy in Great Britain is doing, and the EU, and how that relationship is working. But certainly the more important thing that has an effect on the New Zealand dollar is the unemployment rate, or lack of it, in the US, and the amount of money that people are able to save, and the interest they're getting on their savings.
We're still concentrating on going niche rather than commodity. Well, I know you do, but New Zealand as a whole?
Oh, New Zealand as a whole I don't think is. There are a lot of niche players out there, but our major industry is still churning out commodities of a variety that's going to run out of steam remarkably quickly. And I'm talking Fonterra producing whole milk powder. Whole milk powder is a product that is valuable for countries that are developing countries. They've got a poor infrastructure, especially in terms of chillers and being able to move chilled product around and store it in their country. So whole milk powder is brilliant because it's the longest stored version of any milk product. You can store it for months. And hence why we've got a seasonal milking activity in New Zealand where we don't milk in the winter, because you can turn it into whole milk powder during the summer, the spring, the summer, and the autumn, and store it to sell out continuously over the year. But it's a product that the end consumer doesn't actually want. And China is now, and China is certainly the biggest market for whole milk powder for us, for New Zealand, but they are starting to look more and more and more for fresh milk, be it UHT or whatever it may be. And we're going to be left out in the cold with all these dryers and a heck of a lot of whole milk powder. Yes, Fonterra is changing the batting lineup, and they're producing lots and lots of cheese slices and mozzarella cheese. But the cheese slices are going to the Malaysian hamburger market, and the mozzarella cheese is basically destined for pizza topping in China. That's adding value, yes, but it's not really niche marketing to the retail end, because the consumer doesn't know where the product's coming from anyway. Yes, you're adding more value because you've added more processing to it, but you'd have to make sure that you're adding value and not adding cost.
One of our great diplomats out there as far as New Zealand is concerned, Hayden Paddon, what's happening with him? He's off the pace.
Yes, and it's incredibly frustrating for him. He's having a terrible year, but no different to what Thierry Neuville, the #1 driver for Hyundai, had the beginning of last year. Couldn't score a trick. Came back at the end of the year very, very strong. But I think what is very frustrating for Hayden is that the car, he knows the car is a winning car. Obviously, Thierry has won twice and could have won 4 events this year. It's a very, very quick car, but he is just, for a whole lot of incidents, just not bolting it all together. Like the accident in Monte Carlo was at about 25, 30 kilometres an hour. Tragic result. But it wasn't a fast accident. The car was fine. And the one at Argentina on the weekend, his roll when the car tripped over in a rut in the corner was, again, about the same speed. And they just tipped it back on its wheels, and they'd broken a few plastic panels, but that was it. Power steering failed on the car. Well, that just happens. But it just seems to be that's happening to him all the time. And he will bounce back. He is head and shoulders the best New Zealand rally driver, and will be for many years to come. He's just got to get out of that funky period. Some of it's not his problem, but it does play on your mind. And I know from a driver's point of view, the worse things are going, the harder you try, and the harder you try often, the bigger the problem. So he's always got to get it right.
We wish him luck.
Cheers.
Thank you very much indeed. Straight after the break, we're going to be talking to Jim Grierson about horticulture and what's been growing well and what hasn't.